Somalia. If an American is considering taking a trip to a foreign country, they should cross Somalia off the list. This country's lack of security puts an American in danger. Sailing close to the coastline puts them at risk of being captured by pirates, and even walking through the streets increases the likelihood of being kidnapped or murdered by a jihad terrorist group called Al-Shabaab. This group has continuously attacked tourist spots like popular hotels and restaurants. Number 9. Afghanistan. There still isn't any area that's deemed safe for American citizens in Afghanistan. Due to terrorist threats, travel warnings are frequently issued by the U.S. Department of State. Americans risk getting kidnapped and taken hostage. Suicide bombs and improvised explosive devices make walking through Afghanistan the equivalent to walking through a battlefield. Extremists are still very active throughout the country, and Americans are targeted in these attacks. Number 8. Haiti. Following the October 2016 arrival of Hurricane Matthew, Americans were strongly urged to stay far away from the southern areas of Haiti. The U.S. Embassy banned unofficial travel to the southern peninsula of the country because of the devastation that occurred after the storm. Roads were damaged, making it almost impossible to travel by vehicle. Some Americans who entered the country to provide relief from the storm were the victims of robberies at the airport, in the streets, and at local banks. Number 7. Yemen. Because of the ongoing political conflict in Yemen, Americans should definitely stay away from this country. Terrorist activities have led to many U.S. citizens being detained by armed groups in the city of Sana'a. Rebel groups target U.S. citizens, with some victims being detained for up to a year and held for ransom. Number 6. Chad. Stepping foot onto the country of Chad is like walking into a minefield. Outside of the capital city of N'Djamena, the U.S. Embassy is unable to provide any type of service or relief due to the increasing number of explosive mines. U.S. citizens should avoid traveling to Chad because of violent extremist organizations like Boko Haram that prey on Westerners. Suicide attacks are prevalent, and kidnapping for ransom is far too common. Number 5. Iraq. Iraq may never be a prime vacation spot for U.S. tourists. Long after the U.S. invaded the country in 2003 and removed Saddam Hussein from power, the battle rages on. Americans are told to stay far away from Iraq because the climate is still very dangerous, and it's almost impossible for the U.S. Embassy to assist anyone in need. Kidnapping and terrorist violence is the norm, and anti-American militias continue to target U.S. citizens with explosive devices. Number 4. North Korea. It's not completely impossible to visit North Korea, but the U.S. Department of State warns all Americans about traveling to this country. For those who ignore the warnings, they risk being arrested and detained for years due to North Korea's harsh laws. Simple things that wouldn't be considered a crime in America can land you behind bars in North Korea for years. For example, this 21-year-old University of Virginia college student was arrested and sentenced to 15 years hard labor for simply stealing a sign at a North Korean hotel. Number 3. Iran. Traveling to Iran means you're taking a risk of being captured, arrested, detained, or even murdered. U.S. citizens are targeted once they enter the country, and they're often prevented from leaving once they arrive. Without a U.S. embassy in place, U.S. citizens, including students, journalists, and business travelers, have been held against their will. This is more than enough reason for all Americans to think twice before visiting Iran. Number 2. Saudi Arabia. Americans are urged to reconsider any plans to visit Saudi Arabia because of the presence of terrorist groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda. These groups directly prey on U.S. citizens in housing compounds, hotels, restaurants, and schools. Suicide bombers launch attacks in popular areas that Americans frequent. This has prompted the U.S. government to restrict its citizens from traveling to specific areas in the country that have been attacked. Number 1. Syria. For Americans who are thinking about traveling to war-torn Syria, they may want to reconsider. The climate remains dangerous and unstable throughout the country, and bombings, murders, and kidnappings are on the rise. Chemical warfare and aerial bombs target areas such as medical facilities, schools, and housing compounds. Major city centers are the prime location for U.S. citizens to be murdered, kidnapped, and held for ransom. For Americans who ignore the warnings, the U.S. government is limited in terms of coming to their rescue. What did you think about these destinations Americans aren't allowed to visit? Leave us a comment down below, and don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up.